Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Sammons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind successful startups, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future expansion. Today, we're excited to have Dawn Marie Bornheimer joining us, the founder of Mission Inspired Consulting. Dawn will be sharing more about her founding story and giving us a glimpse into plans for future growth. So let's jump right in. Dawn, welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. We're super excited to have you here. So let's take us back to the beginning. What specific problem inspired you to start Mission Inspired Consulting?
I spent almost 20 years in the corporate world, always a little bit closer to education. And I found that oftentimes working inside someone else's business, I'd get really excited, really passionate about the work. My last corporate role had a direct tie to a mission I felt near and dear to my heart, mental health and well-being. And
Nice.
so when it was time to stand up my own business, it was natural fit for me to think about purpose-driven leaders and supporting them in expanding their impact.
Awesome. Amazing. So you did touch a little bit on your background there. Maybe we can indulge a little bit deeper. What was your background before launching the business and how did that experience your influence and your approach?
Yeah, so I have an undergrad in clinical psychology. I did master's work at Johns Hopkins in education. And so, really foundational in working with individuals to just find the best in all of them, whether that was with K-12 students or empowering students through curriculum, educational tools. I have a long-standing background in the corporate space, working in for-profit, nonprofit, private equity, all of the things. And
Great
really,
stuff.
over time, what I found that I love the most was really getting locked into something that was a pain point in the world, something that somebody was observing that they wanted to solve for. And so it felt like such a natural fit when it was time to do my own thing to come alongside those very same individuals. And so having worked at Kaplan, Capella, NYU Langone Health, and many other big brands, I recognized there were a lot of other smaller brands out there, people who stood up a business because something they observed in the world broke their heart. And they needed someone with the skill set and expertise that I have to come alongside them and help them, but they couldn't always afford to invest in a sales executive. And so to come
Mm.
along in a fractional way is accessible for them. And so that became my vision and my mission when we moved to Hawaii about 2 years ago, that I would be able to come alongside those very leaders. Instead of standing up something adjacent to them, what does it look like to come alongside them and move them forward?
Awesome, love that. So really helping the people push them and drive them, but in a way that they can afford and they can get there. And I'm sure there's a lot of founders listening who would really appreciate that and would love to involve that in their story. So could you walk us through currently how you're generating revenue today and the core offer based around that?
Yeah, so I do a combination of sales training, business consulting, and coaching inside of the businesses I serve. Right now, I have a client in the higher education space and a client in the K-12 space. And my role is really based on whatever the needs of the business are as it relates to my zones of genius. Sometimes that's back of the house stuff. Sometimes that's rebranding a product line or repackaging. Sometimes that's training the sales team, creating standard operating procedures, SOPs for them, and really saying, okay, what does the sales cycle look like? What are the most impactful things about each stage of that? And then how do we move things along in the funnel? A lot of founders are either visionaries or integrators, but they're not often both. And so
Hmm.
they often are struggling in the area that's outside of their zone of genius. And so sometimes I'm coming along to just help them see where they are best suited and then where they need support. So growing a team might be something that they need from me, and so really just evaluating their needs, co-creating a scope of work, and then deciding based on my own availability and their budget where we fit together and finding a starting point from there.
Awesome. So there's a lot of avenues and a lot of revenues you're working with in terms of helping and coaching people, whether, as you say, whether it's the back end front of it, the funnel inside, the front end, and just making it affordable and achievable for them and their targets.
Mhm.
Incredible. So how are you currently acquiring customers for Mission Inspired, and what methods and channels have you found most effective?
It's interesting. I'm a huge relationship person. So my number one pathway has honestly been my network, my
Awesome.
relationships. I have curated, cultivated relationships over many years, worked for some outstanding companies and within outstanding teams, and we've all gone on to do other things. And so maintaining those relationships has been really powerful for me. And honestly, the origin story of my business to date has simply been through my network. I will say one of my clients observed me in action at my last company and really admired the work we did there. And so when they heard I was available, they reached out, and that's how we came to work together.
Love that. So based on, I'm assuming referrals mainly, but then
Mhm.
moving from there, it shows a great development of trust and in that scaling process and the fact that you're working so closely with your clients and they're seeing that from the inside out and from the work you're doing. So talk us through a little bit about the nuts and the bolts. What does the sales process look like from initial contact to close deals with some of the people that you're working with?
So it really depends on where they're starting, but oftentimes we do an exploratory call of sorts, and we try to really just understand where everybody is today, what they may need, and they will present me with a scope of work that I will then help inform what's missing, what needs to be adjusted. I love that you think this could be done in 30 days, but it may take 45. Maybe when I get inside the system, I may have some questions. So how do we just continue to evolve while still moving the needle on all of your goals? And then as we continue to work, we get the opportunity to see what's missing and really just assure that there's some fluidity in there, that everyone's open to that. Oftentimes, when you peel back the onion, you find more. And so it's really important to me to work with people that are going to be agile in that regard, that it's okay to make mistakes or it's okay to try something and learn, but we really need to be willing to move the needle and move things forward. And so whether that's the approach I take when I bring on a new client, or whether that's the approach I ask them to consider when we're working inside of their business, really to help them move forward. But my goal always is to start with a 90-day minimum. And that just gives us a good amount of time to work together and really feel through each other and our structures and how we work best, develop that relationship, and make sure that we can coexist. Make sure that we
Mm.
have a good dynamic, that we're bringing positive energy to the conversation, that our connections are working. We understand how the other wants to be communicated with. A lot of us, especially those that have experience in the corporate world, may or may not have worked inside of the most sound culture. And so you
Yeah.
bring all of that with you. All of your experiences come with you as you engage the next human being or the next person that you're inviting into your ecosystem. And so, really, just wanting to make sure that people are adaptable, willing to learn, that they are open to change, because oftentimes they're calling me for a reason and they need me to help them make the next right decisions. And so, when we think about all of the things that are possible and we start to make those decisions, we want to make sure that they're the right people to move them forward. And so I think some of what I do inside my own business really reflects the way in which I choose to help them lead inside of their businesses as well.
Awesome, great. Yeah, it sounds like you really stick to your core values and then move that along with the people that you're working with. As you
Yeah.
say, building that, we did touch on it a moment ago, building that relationship of trust and making sure that they're the right people and willing to listen to your advice and your coaching and while you're there to do your job. So, talk to me about it. Are you a solo entrepreneur in this? Do you have a team that you work with? How is it fitting under those many hats and what you do?
Yeah, at this moment, I am running the business solo. So I take on a contract with a given client. And then if there is need for additional support for their client, for that client in the role or capacity I'm holding, then I empower and help the client budget to hire someone to report to me under their structure. So
Gotcha.
if a client requires a sales development representative that they need some more outbound work, then that individual will report to me inside of their business. And that gives me the opportunity to hold that executive level position for them while in training and developing the others inside of their business, but also makes it more sustainable for them so that if
Hmm.
and when I move on, they can move on with these other roles in place and or just see the value of having some of those partial roles in the different layers of a sound sales structure.
Gotcha. So yeah, building the structure behind them and the foundations that you can then leave behind and move on to the next one to make sure it's all keeping that smooth transition and keeping them moving forward and rolling into the future. So talk to me a little bit about bottlenecks. What would you say is the bit of bottleneck in growth right now for yourself? Would that be lead generation, sales conversion, maybe fulfillment capacity, or is it something else completely entirely?
For my clients, I would say lead generation is always a challenge.
Yeah,
It's
always.
something to consider. And so often I'm helping solve for that. There's a distinction between product marketing and lead gen marketing. Oftentimes, companies hire one or the other, but don't always know exactly the type they need. And once you have someone in place, then they're a human, they're a part of your team, and you feel really strongly about them as an individual and their skill set. But if product marketing is required, there's some learning that has to happen there, right? And so sometimes that's a pain point that clients are navigating. In general, especially in education, it's a very saturated market. And getting creative and thoughtful on how you build relationships, how you earn the right to get the meeting, how you do enough value adds in the world so people see you and know what you're there to do, especially being a purpose-driven organization. People need to see what you're here to co-create in the world, what you want to bring to the world, and how helping you or being willing to partner with you will make a difference for the students in this case that you're serving. And so once they see your heart and see the mission and vision clearly, they're more likely to take the meeting. And so that early stage marketing qualified up to sales qualified is really the hurdle that I'm helping many of my clients overcome. Once they're in the meetings, they're so good, right? They're sound, they believe in the work that they do, there's passion behind it. Oftentimes, always good to have more data to drive it, but that part they're really good at. You put the right people in the room and we can capture the business. It's just getting the people in the room.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's a lot of founders listening that are starting their journeys or maybe have had to pivot through that lead generation and really hone in and focus on what they need to do and acquire the right clients for them. Would you say there's any bottlenecks or any kind of pivots you've had to make for yourself with mission inspired consulting that you've had that you could draw on and then pass on to the people that you work with?
Yeah, I would say right now, because there's so many opportunities for technology, we need to learn how to use technology effectively for the very people we desire to do business with. And that
Yeah,
looks different for different people. There's certain markets that are more than happy to receive a text message, other markets that would not love that. There's certain markets that are
agreed.
happy to have you slide in their DMs on LinkedIn, and other markets that would prefer to download a case study. You have to understand what the people that you want to do business with are looking for, and then meet them in those spaces and places. And then once you earn that relationship and you earn the right, you can send them an email. You can send them a message on LinkedIn. You can invite them to a conversation, and they're more likely to respond to you. And so, really finding the space in between, using automation as a tool and a gift, and protecting that personalization in the relationship so that you can speak to the very people that you're meant to serve.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Using the tools and a lot of the people we speak to, a lot of the founders we get on it obviously mention AI is a great tool moving forward as well. And integrating the two together with that little bit of human mistake and then the AI helping push them through, I think is a great combination and touches on what you just mentioned there. So what are the top priorities for yourself in growth? Like where do you see mission inspired consulting going over the next 12 months?
So I just finished a fantastic public speaking program where I'm working on a keynote on the theme of courage. And so I'm super excited to add that to my portfolio. We are a military family, so we are in the midst of transition at this moment, which is a call to courage all of its own.
Yeah.
So we're preparing a relocation from Hawaii to Miami, Florida. And I do think it's going to open up opportunity for me to have slightly more availability going into a more aligned time zone with everyone else. I've been really mindful of protecting my harmony living here in Hawaii, recognizing that we're about 6 hours from Eastern Standard Time most of the year. And so really just making every hour count when I am serving individuals in the various time zones, and then using the off time for independent projects. And so when I envision our relocation and the next opportunity, I see myself speaking on stages more, and then maybe even taking on some group coaching as an opportunity to serve more people that are in early stage entrepreneurship. Sometimes the hardest part is getting started. And so really
Yeah.
just giving people the empowerment and the courage to say, you don't have to be 100% ready. You just have to have the inner knowing that it's time, and borrow faith from somebody, borrow the courage if you have to, but just get started because there's so much learning on the other side.
Yeah, I love that 100%. Like sometimes the scariest leap is just that first step, just that, as you say, just do it. It's like the get yourself out there, get yourself in front of people. And then with your current path, as you say, relocating, getting back to maybe the center of time and back into that zone and really getting your name out there and helping people push through and understand that. I love that completely. Let's take it hypothetical for the next question. If you could snap your fingers and you had unlimited resources, what would you implement or what would you change immediately to accelerate growth?
I think I would have a team of coaches, and I think I would easily make sure that we had assistants for everyone. There are some people that are so beautifully organized in the back end, and they love coordinating and they love managing calendars and keeping things very structured and organized. And I love them for it. It is not my zone of genius. And so if I really could set people up for success to put more of their time and energy towards the very gifts they were given, I can see them spending more time with more clients if in fact someone was taking care of the operational stuff on the back end. And I believe that to be true for myself as well. So unlimited resources would certainly be to provide that layer of support behind the scenes to allow me to be more customer facing and spend more time with the very people that I'm here to serve.
Yeah, I think organization on the back end is one that I can really relate to you with there on a personal note. The many tabs and the many things going on a screen sometimes is what holds you back with that, as you say, saving time and putting your efforts where you need to put them. Organization is not a strong point for everybody. So, as you see the coaching and consultancy industry evolving over the coming years, how is mission inspired consulting positioned itself for the future?
I think being so multifaceted and really being able to coach inside businesses and not necessarily have to have a one-on-one coaching capacity, although you'd be surprised how often I do one-on-one coaching inside of a business. The willingness to just be flexible and agile inside of whatever is called towards me. So I do genuinely believe the people I'm meant to serve will show up in my experience through my network, through
Love
my
that.
relationships. And as a result of that, I really am willing to just move fluidly inside of the experience and recognizing my own value and the exchange that I bring and the value I bring to someone, but also wanting to meet them where they are so that we can move things forward. Depending on the stage of their business, it depends on the level of investment they can make in a person like me or in other resources. And I think the flexibility and the agility that comes from this military life, it probably has been with me even longer than that, but we've been moving around for 14 years, about every 1 to 2 years. And so just being able to reset and keep moving forward is a strong suit of mine at this stage of the game. And so really leaning into that, I think will be essential for the future of the business and the future of business.
Yeah, 100%. And touching on that a little bit with the remote world and everything becoming online and more centered, you can really pivot yourself from where you are in the world. And the fact that you've already got that experience behind you, as you said, with the moving around every 2 years and having that military life behind you, it can draw on those experiences. So, again, just at the end, we're going to switch it up a little bit and we're going to go into a bit of a lightning round, okay? So, what
Okay.
is one tool or resource that has been a big game changer for your business?
Tool or resource? I would say I have embraced ChatGPT in a big way, just not to replace my own ideation as much as to help refine it. At first, I was really cautious with it. I was worried for I don't know what reasons, maybe because it just was less familiar, but really just embracing the idea that it can help take my ideas and either solidify them, expand them, or give me some more operationalized things to work with. It
Yeah.
has really proven to be a tool that I continue to want to learn more about.
Yeah, I would agree on that one. And again, touches back to what we were saying before about having organization and operational back end of it. It really ties together with that. So what is the best piece of advice that you've received about scaling a business?
To be patient. I think oftentimes we feel a sense of urgency to see the next right thing to do or to find the next step. And really, actually finding the calm allows you to find the clarity. And so I worked with a coach over the last 2 years very intentionally to ground myself and recognize that when I slow down, I actually get more clarity on where I need to go next. And so that's just been a gift for me that I continue to practice and more mindfulness, more presence, and just that slowing down.
Love that completely. And then, as a leaving note, what advice would you give to any founders who are listening and at the start of their journey?
Recognize your gifts and what you're here to do, and then think about who's the next right person to help you move that forward. As I mentioned earlier, some people are visionaries. They do these big, beautiful dreams, but they need someone to come in and operationalize them for them.
Mm,
They're really strong operationally and they can help solve a problem that many people have, which is I'm a big visionary and I need someone to come alongside me to help me operationalize. And then the other thing I would just invite people to consider is the fractional roles are becoming more and more popular. You can work with multiple companies through your entrepreneurial journey and solve similar problems in those different companies. And you don't need to work inside of any one business 100%, but it will serve your business 100%. And so just flipping the table a little bit and looking at that and saying, if I have 3, 4, 5 core clients, what does it look like for that to become one business of its own? And then how do I
awesome.
scale that if and when I need to? Sometimes that'll be enough, and just serve the people in front of you in the meantime, because that's how you'll attract the next right people.
Awesome. Again, going back to that point of building the trust and then working on the referrals from there. Love that.
Mhm.
So thank you so much, Dawn. That is a wrap on another inspiring episode of Founders Future. I want to thank Dawn for sharing her incredible story and insight with us today. And to our listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also find more resources and insights at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their sales and marketing efforts through world-class systems and playbooks. Until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.